2 decades ago, Peter-Gaye Dunkley-Mullings was a rejected suicidal teen running away from her hometown of Santa Cruz, St. Elizabeth. Now she is back there with a bang, shaking up the status quo.
There are people to this day who still hold on to what I used to be, and they still cannot see the potential. They can't see what I have become. They can't see the kind of change that I have made or the changes that I am making.
She was once homeless, and so she's now building houses for low-income earners. She dropped out of primary school due to pregnancy, but she's now a registered nurse who has founded a charity organization that's helping students to stay in school. Dunkley-Mullings attended New River Basic School as well as Santa Cruz Primary, formerly Santa Cruz All-Age School.
We used to play over here where this building is, but I particularly enjoyed this spot right here. It's been 24 years, but I still hold this place really dear to my heart.
The golden memories aside, Dunkley-Mullings recalled being in grade 8 at Santa Cruz Primary when she became pregnant.
To stand here and look at the doors of the last class, and just to think about how fortunate I am to be able to turn my life around. I'll always be grateful for this place. I don't recognize some of the people here anymore. I don't know the new staff, but I know that this place, this school, changed my life forever.
Dunkley-Mullings' pregnancy and dropping out of school sent tongues wagging, especially in her native New River, a community surrounded by large expanses of wetlands, some of which is used for cattle rearing. Dunkley-Mullings, while being treated as an outcast by many, eventually gave birth to a baby boy. She named him Alric Stewart. Dunkley-Mullings' troubles were far from over. She recalled running away from home, leaving her baby boy behind after almost being raped. When she left home, Dunkley-Mullings had nowhere to go. Homelessness was her reality.
The day I left home, I spent that night in an unfinished house, and I literally broke into someone's house. I had no idea. It's at a place named Dr. Rock in St. Elizabeth, and I slept there for the night. And for the days ahead, I basically stayed wherever I could get to spend the night. Sometimes it would be friends' home or family members. You know, for family members, most of them you can't spend more than 2 days, and they will want to know what's your plan, where you're going, what's the next move.
Dunkley-Mullings eventually made a lot of new friends and ended up in the parish of Westmoreland. There she worked as a dancer and later as a caddy at Niggerhill Golf Club.
Prior to working at Niggerhill Hills Golf Club, I was a stripper. I worked at the golf club when I was 18, 19, but prior to that I was just hanging out at the clubs. I wouldn't say that I was a full-time dancer, but there were times when I was on stage for the fun of it and I would get paid. So yes, I was definitely dancing. That's where my mindset was, wherever I can get some money, or I didn't, thank God, I didn't do any kind of prostitution. I just couldn't, because I was brought up with certain moral values that didn't allow me to get to that place. But other than that, in my dark days, there were times when the stage was where I found comfort. I would go on stage and just dance and have a good time and forget about the past, the hurt, and all the struggles that I had to face for the coming days. I met a lot of good people at the clubs. I met some girls there who I would consider to be just like family at that time. So that was my place of rescue for a while. That's where I felt accepted.
While still in Westmoreland, Dunkley-Mullings got the shock of her life. She received the news from her home in St. Elizabeth that her son fell ill and died. Dunkley-Mullings eventually met an American man whom she initially thought was her knight in shining armor. He wedded her and took her from Jamaica. Very soon, the marriage and everything came tumbling down. It ended in divorce.
After I left Jamaica at the age of 20, I thought that this was my knight in shining armor and everything is gonna be perfect. Just to realize, after only a couple hours of moving to America, that I would find myself in yet another abusive situation, to the point where I wasn't allowed to leave the house, I wasn't allowed to work. My ex-husband would say, I can take care of you. There's no reason for you to go anywhere. But see, I had a real problem with that. I had a real problem with that because I knew that I had so much to offer. Through the pain and anguish that I went through, I just felt like it wasn't an experience for me to keep to myself. It wasn't an experience that would stop me from moving forward in life. It wasn't an experience for me to just sit and say, okay, I am a victim, there's nothing I can do.
Determined to find liberation and to live the American dream, Dunkley-Mullings did odd jobs, starting at fast food giant McDonald's.
My first job in America was working at McDonald's. That place is truly fast food. When they say fast food, it's fast food. And as hard as I was trying, and I thought that I was the fastest thing in the building, it just wasn't fast enough. So needless to say, that was a very stressful job, but that's how I started out. Then after McDonald's, my second job was with a place called, I believe it was called Supreme Sale or Prestige Sales, where I would literally pull cardboard box with knives, toys, flashlights, and I would just go door to door to solicit sales for the day. I remember making 25 cents off a toy set, 50 cents from a set of knives. But it was truly a learning experience for me. That really taught me resilience because I was determined to take care of myself at that point. So there are days when I would be working, just pulling boxes and trying to get sales for 10 or even 12 hours for the day. If I wasn't making much, then I started working at Denny's restaurant. So from Denny's, it was Kentucky Fried Chicken. I worked for KFC for a while. Then I worked at the check cashing store, and then from the check cashing store into the field of nursing.
Dunkley-Mullings, who didn't previously complete primary school, went on to attain a degree in nursing. She's now a supervisor at the hospice where she works, treating end-of-life patients.
I didn't venture in nursing because I felt compassion or wanted to help people. I started nursing for the money. The passion came later. But while working at the check cashing store, week after week after week, I saw this gentleman coming in cashing his check that was twice the size of my bi-weekly check, and this was every week. So I asked him, what do you do? And he says, I'm a nurse. LPN, he said, which is licensed practical nurse. And I said, what do you do? How can I get to be an LPN? Because I remember even starting out the day of school when the instructor went around the room and wanted to find out from the students what made us decide to enter into the field of nursing or the medical field. And I told her, I said, for the money. You could hear a pin drop because everybody was looking straight at me. And I said, yes, it's for the money. And at that point she said, I respect your honesty because there are a lot of people sitting here thinking the same way, but Didn't want to say that. So that's just been my personality overall, though. I don't know if I was born this way or developed this over time, but I am not afraid to be the only one in the room saying yes or no when the majority is leaning towards the other direction.
Dunkley-Mullings, the epitome of pulling oneself up by the bootstraps, is now an accomplished woman. She's married again. She has a promising 8-year-old daughter, Javonia Mullings. She has a nice job and more.
After I migrated to America, I did the GED program, which is the equivalent of a high school diploma. And from there on, I attended Edison State College, where I got my degree in nursing, and Chamberlain College, where I furthered my nursing degree. Been a hospice nurse for 16 years, almost 17 years. In hospice, we serve end-of-life patients, and our main focus is on palliative care and not curative. Our patients, in order to qualify, they would have a prognosis of 6 months or less to live. A lot of our patients will live for years. But at this crucial time in their lives, I feel privileged to be able to serve these patients and their families. I like the fact that I can add life to their days when it's too late to add days to their lives.
None of that would have been possible if Dunkley-Mullings didn't muster the courage to stand up on her own feet and fight for survival.
I thank God for my experiences. Because of my experiences, I can now say I understand. I understand the struggle, I understand the pain, but here's also what I understand. I understand that the quicker we realize that no one is coming to rescue us, we just have to be our own rescue. Life is what we make it. Only we can make the change, because the change comes from within. Change comes from within. We're never gonna be fully accepted in society. There are people to this day who still hold on to what I used to be, and they still cannot see the potential. They can't see what I have become. They can't see the kind of change that I have made, or the changes that I am making in order to be a productive member of society, or to even help those who are going through situations. So people are always gonna have negative things to say. But my focus is on how do we help our young people to filter out some of the naysayers, some of the people who say that you're good for nothing, nothing will ever come of you, you're from a particular background of good for nothing people, or your district, your zip code is not right, you're from the ghetto, you're not from the affluent side of town, so therefore nothing good will come of you.
The secret to her success is actually not a secret. It's all in her biography, which is titled Can't Afford to Fail.
My memoir, Can't Afford to Fail, was published in 2019, and I decided to write this memoir after reluctantly sitting on the chapters for many, many years. I didn't feel like I was at a place where I was willing to let strangers in on the life that I lived as a teenager, the way I felt as a person, my personal thoughts, my intimate operations. But I remember going to work day after day after day, mentoring countless individuals, especially women. So Can't Afford to Fail is not just a memoir. It is a self-help book. It is a book where if you can relate, you will find courage through the words written in order to help you to move forward. Can't Afford to Fail was written for those who feel as if there's no tomorrow, that the sun never gonna shine. October 2017, I had 2 miscarriages. I had a son who was born, lived for 11 minutes, and the other was stillborn. I only had 19 chapters at that time. And after I left the hospital, I thought of suicide more than once. I remember one day I reached out to my husband and I said, I feel like these walls are caving in on me. I feel like I don't want to live to see tomorrow. This is too much pain. This is too much hurt. And I just don't want to go through this. And then I had a thought. How many people are going through the same situation? What if I used my story to create a chapter 20 for the 19 chapters that was already finished? So I created a 20th chapter, and I injected the story of struggling with miscarriages over and over, losses. So I had a son who died when he was 3 years and 7 months, my first child. So as you can imagine, just a lot of pain and suffering. But I didn't want to just keep that to myself.
Dunkley-Mullings started a mentorship program. That initiative transitioned into a charity organization, which is also called Can't Afford to Fail. The charity, which was launched at Santa Cruz on August 13, 2022, provides mentorship, scholarships, and other forms of assistance to students across Jamaica.
I am not afraid to stand up for our children because I have mustered enough strength and courage to stand up for myself first. And I have come to realize that if we don't stand up for ourselves, society will beat us down. Unfortunately, we're living in a very cruel world. Some of our children to this day will talk about how they have to endure bullies in school or even in the churches. Let's be honest, even in the churches, we have our children who are getting bullied. So that's one of the reasons why Can't Afford to Fail have personal mentor for our children as well, because we want to see them succeed. We're not the type of charity that's going to hand out books, bags, pens, and say, we'll see you next year. We understand the importance of having the school supplies, but we know that we must be there throughout the entire time for our children so we can help them to build their self-esteem and get stronger so they can deal with some of the hardships that come with being young adults or teenagers. We're hoping to develop them in a way that they too can be mentors for the students coming in to the program in 2023 onwards.
Dunkley-Mullings, in starting the foundation, assembled a strong team of volunteers who speak highly of her.
Peter-Gaye, she's a motivator. Any little thing you ask her, if she cannot do it, she say, all right, hold on, let me get somebody.
Working with our children and with Miss Peter-Gaye is indeed a pleasure. It's a privilege. Something I always wanted to do, to help our children. Mostly our children who are in need, seeking out their welfare, helping to be more educated. Some of our children are very low. Their parents cannot afford it. And when you seek out their background and try to help them, this will help to be a better Jamaica.
We would like to see Jamaica in a better place. And one of the ways to do that is to help children because they are from the grassroots. So if we can captivate their minds and so that they won't turn to criminality, we will have a better Jamaica, better outcome. So yes, working with the group is a pleasure.
Not forgetting her days of homelessness, Dunkley-Mullings also started what she described as an affordable living program. Its aim is to provide much-needed relief for low-income families in need of somewhere to call home.
My intention is to develop affordable living homes in Jamaica, so our young people will have a comfortable place to call home without compromising their budget. I understand that a lot of the young people here find home ownership to be out of reach simply because of the economic conditions. But I am hoping that the day will come when many will see the need to return to Jamaica to help to build affordable living homes so that our Jamaican people can own a piece of this paradise and just feel comfortable to be home and thrive.
The first house, which is being built locally under the initiative, is located in New River.
Welcome to the district of New River, and this is the first phase of our affordable living project. This is an apartment that consists of 3 units, 2 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. We're 95% completed.
That mansion is a far cry from where Dunkley-Mullings started. She initially lived in a wooden house which was destroyed by Hurricane Gilbert in September 1988. The remainder of her childhood was spent mainly in 2 other houses which are still standing today at New River.
In 1988, we moved to this house in the background after Hurricane Gilbert destroyed our 1-bedroom board house where my 6 siblings and my parents resided. Well, we moved to this house, though we were just faced with a terrible hurricane. It was a joy to us because for the first time we were able to use a kerosene oil stove. Prior to that, we were still cooking on wood fire. I know it was a primitive way of doing things, but we were grateful. That's what we had until 1988 when I moved here to this house in the background. So this is the place where I spent majority of my childhood. And though I have some fond memories of this place, this is also the house I ran away from when I was just a teenager. I left my son alive. This is where he was later laid to rest when he was 3 years, only 3 years and 7 months old. I am one of 9 siblings. So as you can imagine, I have countless nieces and nephews. I stopped counting. I think we're over 30 by now. My heart is still here. I've never for any time thought that I would find a place where I can feel more at home, more at ease, and more comfortable. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come back to Jamaica, back to my roots, retrace my steps, and along the way, help.
When it comes to benevolence and uplifting people, Dunkley-Mullings is not short of plans. And you better believe it, the best of her is yet to come.